Empire has officially made history on this episode, and I cannot wait to talk about it. Let's go, y'all. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRS TV. This is your boy Kenny, and this is Empire Season 5, Episode 16, and the name of this episode is Never Doubt I Love. This was a really good episode, and I can't wait to discuss it, but before I do, I would like to give my honor and respects, to a young man that we just lost last week. His name is Nigel Shelby. He was a 15-year-old ninth grader in Huntsville, Alabama, who committed suicide due to him being bullied for being gay. This is something that we need to stop, we need to annihilate, and we need to move forward securing our young and securing our community. So what I want is to have a moment of silence and rest in peace, Nigel Shelby. Thank you, everybody. Now, and it was definitely perfect for the theme of this episode because this whole episode celebrated the LGBTQ community, the black LGBTQ community. And I was so here for this episode because this is exactly what we need in our community. We need to be liberated from all the stereotypes, the negativity, and from all of the, segregation and degradation of our own people. Because regardless whether you are straight, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning, you're still a black person at the end of the day. And we all share the same fight, and we all need to come together to build a better unit of people. So let me begin with this review. So the wedding invitations have gone out. Everybody's being interviewed, by this woman who's covering, Jamal and Kai's wedding. They interview Cookie and Lucious, Hakeem, Andre, and the last people they started to interview was Kai and Jamal. Now, while this interview was going on, there was a part where the interviewer asked Jamal, what's your message to that 8-year-old boy in Missouri who dad beats him for being gay? And immediately this took Jamal back to when he was a little boy and he came down wearing his mother's clothes and her shoes, and Lucious got so irate and so upset that he threw his own child in the trash can. Y'all remember that from season 1? Crazy as hell. But this actually happened to Lee Daniels. They even said that when that scene happened, he couldn't even finish it because he was too emotional, and his sister had to step in to finish the scene. But this is a true reality that a lot of gay people face. Black gay people who grow up in families who really are sexually ignorant and don't truly understand that having a different sexual orientation doesn't make you less of a man nor less of a woman. If anything, it just shows that we have a variety of black people, and we have a different variety of people in general, and we all need to be understood and celebrated and not disrespected and brutalized. So his response to that question was that, my response to that is that tell the boy that he's loved and to be patient. And then all of a sudden, he also mentions that him and Lucious' relationship has evolved. Then they bring up the situation involving Kai's HIV status, that they found this email where it was about Kai's HIV status, and they wanted to know, and they pretty much the rumor was spread that's the reason why Jamal broke up with him the first time, when really it had nothing to do with that at all. Those of us who watch and know what really went down with that. Kai was tripping. But, they wanted Kai to make a statement, but he was pretty much stuck, and he didn't know what to say or do, because now his private life is now being displayed in the public eye. But while I'm at that, it's very important that you know your status, and also know that we as a community need to start being more open talking about HIV and STIs. And shout out to my good friend Arturo Hill. He works with NovaSalud Incorporated. So those of you who are in the DMV, know your status, get tested. And also, just last weekend, they held a forum where we had a discussion about HIV disclosure. Not only knowing your status, but also being free to express your status openly and honestly. So I'm gonna have all this information in the description box. For those of you who are in the DMV, get others to get tested. For every three people that you bring, you'll get a gift card from Target. So I'm gonna have all of his information in the description box, so you guys can check him out and get connected and begin to take responsibility for your lives as well as each other's. So definitely after that whole situation dealing with Kai, and now his HIV status is now known to the world, this definitely shakes things up between the two of them. And Jamal is saying that you need to make a statement, control the narrative. But Kai is not used to that because Kai never had to live his life that way. He always lived behind the scenes, and he's a journalist, but he's not all about the razzle dazzle which comes with the industry. And that he says that he's not going to become a public spectacle due to his HIV status. So then we get the family dinner. Jamal and Cookie have a conversation. They discuss marriage and how to make it work, and he says he wants a marriage like his parents. And we all know that Cookie right now is dealing with this whole situation with Damon Cross. And Jamal actually wants both Lucious and Cookie to walk him down the aisle, and Lucious is hesitant, due to the whole tradition of being, that's usually a father and bride thing. And he says, I don't want to be paraded as someone's agenda, the quote unquote gay agenda. Let me know you something right now. People who say that there's a gay agenda, there is an agenda, but I'm gonna tell you here straight up, this is the agenda. The agenda is grow the hell up. That's the agenda. Grow your ass up. Stop with all these little boy and little girl games, trying to hold someone's sexual preference as a reason to bully and humiliate them. This is a time that you need to respect people for who they are and own that and be respectful. That's the agenda. So if you want to talk about an agenda, that's the true agenda right there. It's just been crazy for the family due to photo shoots and interviews and all that. But Cookie calls Lucious a jackass. And then we see at the wedding dinner, there's a lot of people. There was a lot of press there. Cookie and Lucious actually talked to this journalist from Philly, and they bond with him. Then we also see that that Kai and Jamal are having a moment, and if anything, Kai wants to know, is Lucious gonna walk you down the aisle? And Kai is just, and Jamal is not really trying to deal with it, because this is definitely somewhat of a trigger to some of the bad blood that him and Lucious had, involving his sexual orientation. So Kai's trying to press it, but Jamal's like, not now. So they leave it, they kind of dead that. Then we see Tiana and Hakeem. Tiana is saying that, I'm about to leave and take the kids home so we can get to sleep, so they can be well rested for tomorrow. And then Jamal, and then Hakeem was like, okay, cool. So what time should I pick you up? He's like, oh, you don't need to do that. Devon is picking me up. We'll just meet you at the church. So he's like, oh, so y'all a little item now? And she's like, we're talking, and she asked where Bella was, and Bella was with Andre, and then all of a sudden when she walked away, Hakeem was like, game on. And I'm like, oh hell, Hakeem, what the hell you about to do? Like, what the hell, Hakeem? But it actually turns out interesting, so let's keep it moving. Then we see Terry and Andre, they're playing with Bella. Cookie comes in there, like, I hope Bella wasn't giving you any trouble. She's like, oh no, she's so adorable. It reminds me of my Quincy when he was her age. And she was like, well, it's not too late to start new memories, honey. Hey, maybe one day this could be you and Andre, like, doing the most. And damn, Lucious took her damn drink. Like, Cookie, your ass been drinking too much and you keep on talking shit. Like, give me the damn drink. And then, like, Lucious walks off. She's like, you better come back here with my drink. It was hilarious. I thought it was cute. So then we see Lucious runs into Becky. And Becky pretty much says that, look, I know this wedding thing is really at the top on your mind, but you need to really get out here and make a statement because the tour currently is being stalled due to the FBI raid. Then we see that Andre gives Jamal their grandfather's cufflinks, which definitely rings alarm to Lucious because he's like, man, you used to guard those things with your life and you giving them to Jamal? He's like, well, it's a special occasion. And we see throughout the episode, Andre is having these moments, which is definitely making all of us question what's really going on with you. Like, what's really happening? So, this definitely, and he pretty much tells Jamal, never let him out of your sight. And then while they're having this family moment, Damon Cross decides to show up with the actual portrait of Cookie and Lucious. And then he says, oh yeah, and Jamal, congratulations on your wedding, and then he's saying that it's so nice when you can love openly instead of trying to love, beneath the shadows, throwing a jab at Cookie. I'm like, Damon, you a bitter bitch. That's what's going on here. You're bitter because she still chose Lucious and didn't choose you. So now you're just being messy. And then Jamal was like, well, won't you come to the wedding? And Cookie was like, oh no, we already have, all the guest lists and all that. He can't come. And then Damon was like, I love to come to the wedding. Really, dude? But the main thing was that Lucious is picking up something like, you mean to tell me that this nigga had this painting the whole time? Like, this is crazy. And we see that Cookie is just flabbergasted that he not only came up in there, but then got him an invite to the wedding. Just crazy. Now, I'm going to talk about the bachelor party down at Leviticus. And they did this shit up. Because, one, you had the pioneer, one of the big pioneers of the gay community, Sylvester's song, Someone Like You. That was my jam. Debbie Allen was in the video when they did the music video for it. So I was so happy that they celebrated Sylvester as well, because Sylvester paved the way for so many. Boy George, RuPaul, you name it. He was a trendsetter, and Sylvester is one of the pioneers of the revolution that we're fighting right now. So, and then a great thing too, shout out to Vixen. Vixen from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 10. She made an appearance in this episode, and she was lip syncing to Sylvester. And then it came down to the whole little, striptease scene where they made Jamal sit in the chair, and and Jamal was so dead set against it because he's like, how's Kai gonna feel? Like, I don't want this. But then Becky wasn't having it. Becky was like, no, sit your ass up in that chair. Yeah, you about to get your life. And all of a sudden we see that, one of the strippers go to dance with Becky, and Becky is just really getting her life. I mean, and Becky is my girl. I love me some Becky. Then we see that there's a guy, one of the dancers starts dancing, on Jamal or whatever. He popping it and everything and doing all this shit. And then all of a sudden, Jamal is freaking out. He's like, look, I don't want this to affect Kyle, right? I don't want this out here. And like Becky's like, bitch, what goes on in Leviticus stays in Leviticus, honey. You better get your life. And dude is still dancing and Jamal is still resisting. And then all of a sudden the guy spoke. It was Kai acting as a stripper at his own husband's bachelor party. That was really clever. I thought that was cute. And Becky knew it too. So Becky kind of like had that whole thing set up. So I thought that was cool. So then we get a scene where where Thirsty goes to the FBI agent. That evil bitch that's trying to take them down. He pretty much presents an injunction, to tell pretty much that they need to call off, she needs to call off her henchmen and let the tour continue. And then she's like, well, how did you make this happen? He told her straight up, my girl Vera knows a district judge that takes pics of his junk and sends it to young girls. And she's like, oh, so you blackmailed him? He's like, no, it's more like I white-mailed him. I was here for this shit because Thurston really gave it to her ass because she was just she's a disgusting bitch. And I'm going to get into it even more so. But he pretty much says that, well, this juncture is that the George orders you to return everything that you have confiscated from the tour, due to the fact you didn't find any drugs, and you need to return it within 48 hours. And he says, oh, by the way, your decor in here, it sucks, and walk the hell out. And I was like, you better serve her ass with her evil tramp. All right, let's keep it moving. And then we actually see that also what happens at Leviticus after Jamal and Kai, Kai has to get home, to sleep for the day. Jamal goes to finish partying with his brothers, and guess what? Kingsley shows up. Andre invited him, and you already got the tension, like, Hakeem feels some kind of way that Tiana's going with Devon, so he's like, I can't go single at my brother's wedding. I need to find somebody I need somebody to be my date for the wedding. And he just going through his thing and pretty much, and the thing is, Kingsley brought up a good point. He was like, well, Hakeem, if you're over Tiana, why do you keep on tracking her? And he's like, you don't know my life. I'm like, true, you don't know your life, but it's plainly obvious, bro, you still got feelings for her. You just didn't like it coming from Kingsley. And we can also see that Jamal and Kingsley, that tension is still there as well. And he was pretty much saying that Jamal was like, well, don't sit here like I'm gonna be like waving a magic wand, acting like the shit that you pulled on this family didn't happen. And he was like, and then Kingsley was like, well, I'm not gonna wave a magic wand that Lucious didn't sell crack to my mom. And he's like, man, Lucious did shady shit to all of us throughout our lives. Like, get in line, motherfucker. Like, you ain't the only one that got jaded. So, but anything, the tension is hard, but Andre steps in and he's telling him, like, Kingsley, the reason why I invited you is because you need to take the helm of this family. You're the eldest out of all of us. You need to hold this mantle and protect us and protect this family. Now, are you willing to do that? And, Kingsley agrees. And then all of a sudden, we see that Andre looks some kind of way. And I'm like, Andre is doing the hell of the most. It's like he's something. And I'm like, what the hell is really going on here? So then we get a scene with Lucious and Cookie. Lucious is toying off the fact that how the hell did he get this painting, because our the teller that they use told him that they couldn't find it. So they're like, how the hell did he get it? So in a way, he's kind of dropping that bomb, like, I've been around you longer than you realize. But immediately Lucious is like, I don't trust him. But then Cookie pretty much says that, well, regardless of that, I'm here about Jamal. And Lucious was like, look, going to the wedding is enough. And she was like, you know what, Lucious? I'm going to let you know this, and I'm going to leave it alone. If you let our son down on his day, to the many times that you've done this in the past, we gonna have a problem. And then all of a sudden he's just sitting there like, how the hell did he get that painting? Well, the person that's connecting the two of you is Thurston. And we're gonna see how Thurston is gonna how this is gonna be revealed. So then we see we get a scene with Hakeem and Maya. Maya decides that she's gonna become his date because he up there looking at all these different chicks that he could take, and the chicks that he looking at are porn stars. And Maya was like, you're gonna take a porn star to your brother's wedding? Like, how's that gonna impress Tiana that you like girls with chlamydia? And she's like, look, I'll go with you as friends, and on top of it, I make good eye candy. And I'm like, here you go, Maya, making yourself sloppy seconds, because you can tell she got a thing for Hakeem as well, and Hakeem is somewhat feeling her, but we all know that Hakeem is still in love with Tiana. And the question is Hakeem the only one that feels this way? So we're gonna see that, but I'm just saying, like, Maya, you did the same shit with Blake. You know that Blake's in love with Tiana, and you end up becoming second fiddle and then got in your feelings when he was fighting over her. And I'm like, you just putting yourself in another situation where you gonna play second fiddle to another female, because, you know, Tiana's a megastar. And Maya's gorgeous, but she's not on Tiana's level as far as her status and her appeal. So this is going to be interesting how all this is going to unfold, because I already see there's going to be some detonators in that situation right there. Then afterwards, we see that Lucious is on his way to the wedding. He's being hounded by press at Empire. They're asking him about, you know, LGBTQ rights, and then also that, you know, how do you feel, you know, knowing that you've had homophobic lyrics in your music and all of that. And, you know, while he's trying to talk to the press, that damn FBI agent shows up and says, we need you to come with us. So he goes back and forth with our ass. And this FBI agent is one evil bitch. And the reason why I say that is that not only is she racist, but she's homophobic. And I have to say, Lee Daniels was genius how he displayed this, because it's showing that racism and homophobia are two diseases that have the same effects. So really, they both have the same fight. And then she's talking about, you know, well, I'm sorry to pull you away from your boy-on-boy nuptials. And, you know, I know you needed to, you know, be there to support the bride. But the question is, who's the bride? Your son? I'm like, oh, this bitch, kill her ass. Because she is just pure evil. And we already know she's trying to get a crack in the case so she can, you know, run for governor. And that's her main objective. But this bitch is so grimy, she would do anything to get it, including break the law herself. So then we see that Cookie is working with the wedding planner at the church. Damon's old, tired, selfish ass shows up all clean and everything. And remember, he's strategic. He wants to take Empire, but the way he's moving is like the chessboard. Take the queen, you can destroy the king. So that's what his main mission has been, as to get Cookie to fall in love with him. And pretty much, you know, Cookie is mad as hell that he actually came. And she's like, why the hell are you here? Like, and he's like, well, I was invited. And she was like, and he's like, what was I supposed to do? And she's like, you could have said no. You could have broke it off. You could have made something up. Why the hell did you have to show up here? He's like, well, I don't understand, you know, Cookie. I mean, I don't understand why you feel some kind of way. I mean, after all, you did break it off. And she's like, excuse me, there was nothing to break off, you know. And then she was like, and what about that painting? You had this painting the whole time? He's like, regardless of that, about that speech you gave me. And he's like, yeah, the one you saying that you didn't think that this was right. Well, I'm saying it is, and I miss you. I'm like, oh, you evil son of a bitch. You literally is about to, her son invited you to the wedding, and they're literally trying to make a play on his mom. Like, dude, you one disrespectful motherfucker. Like, seriously. And while this was going on, she pretty much tells him, get the hell out of here. Go. Leave. And he leaves, and Jamal saw the whole thing go down. So immediately Jamal walks off because he's like, I can't believe this shit. And then he was like, what was that? And she was like, it's nothing. He's like, nah, it looked more like nothing to me. What's going on? And she was saying that, look, when Andre got sick, Damon was there, but he got the lines crossed. Well, actually, sweetie, so did you. You got the lines crossed as well, and it was Carol that got your ass together. Your crackhead sister, yeah, she may be on drugs, but she ain't a dumb bitch, because she got you all the way together and let you know you hiding secrets is the thing that will begin to kill your marriage. And that's when you decided to leave Damon alone, because you begin to see that he really is falling for you and he is courting you. Because we saw in the last episode how he was playing Chef RD, making her, filet mignon and rosemary chicken and serving champagne and all that good shit. I mean, that's enough to get you wet just talking about it. So it's obvious what Damien's doing. And, Cookie and Jamal go back and forth, and he was saying that, well, have you told Dad? And she was like, no. And he was like, wow, you lying to Dad? I thought you were better than that, Ma. And then she was like, when you get married, and he's like, you're not doing that today. You're not going to sit up here and say, well, you'll understand. Like, I'm not dealing with that right now. Not today. So he just kind of walked away from that. Then back, at the whole situation with Lucious and the FBI agent, she's still talking her shit, and she says that, you know what, you need to turn over Damon Cross. I know about him handling that Panama money. That whole money is all over Empire. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's a publicly traded company. There are a lot of investors that I don't even know. And she was like, well, if you're gonna sit up here and try to protect him with this so-called thug code, that's not gonna work, because when I present this to Damon, you're gonna wish that you play ball. And I came to you first out of courtesy, because I hate to admit it, I'm a fan. Snitch bitch was my jam. I'm like, oh, you messy bitch. You gonna use his shit against him? I'm like, yo, Lucious, how you gonna play this? Because Lucious is getting really mad, and he was getting so mad that he looked like he wanted to slap the shit out of her, especially when she was, being, homophobically, antagonistic against Jamal, talking about his wedding. And that's his son, and you gonna pull him on the day of his son's wedding? Like, yeah, you have no heart and you have no soul, and Lucious knows this shit. And then she was like, and then all of a sudden Lucious was like, girl, if you knew tenth of what you're asking for, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So he already knows, bitch, you don't know nothing. You're trying to put shit together, but you don't even have all your ducks in a row, and you're trying to get me to come up in here and drop a dime for you so you can continue to move forward. And that's what you want, because you ain't got shit. You don't have nothing solid. And then, and then all of a sudden, this bitch decides to go even further. She was like, well, you may have gotten away with your crimes when we had some melanin in the White House, but it's a different day now. Oh, so you were part of the Make America Great Again campaign. Duly noted, bitch. That's why you're so racist and why you're so homophobic. And then she pretty much says that, but it's a brand new day. And yeah, and just shutting down your tour for 2 weeks, that was just my warm-up act. So I'm like, she talking cash shit like she that bitch. And he said that, you know what? The whole time you've been sitting here talking, I've been thinking about my son. And this is the most important day of his life. And I will be damned I'm going to let you or anybody ruin it. So he got up and he was like, oh yeah. And if you plan on showing up to that wedding, and you like Snitch Bitch, you need to listen to the song I Shot a Fed a couple of times. I'm like, you better get her ass, Lucious. Fuck her up. I'm with it. I'm like, yes. Clap back like everything. So I'm like, nah, bitch. You really crossing the line. Not only are you racist, but you're homophobic, and then you're gonna pull me from the most important day of my son's life when I'm supposed to be there to support him, to go on back and forth with this bullshit just because you want to sow your oats. Got her all the way together. And then we see that Jamal and Cookie are having a moment. You know, it's before this, the wedding's about to start. Jamal's mad because, you know, Lucious hasn't been able, they've been trying to call Lucious. Lucious not answering his phone. They don't know where he is. And he's upset that Lucious is late. And he's like, I don't know what the hell this is. I knew me asking him was probably tipped him off and all this shit. Like, I'm not some little boy he threw in the trash can. I'm a grown ass man now. And I'm not gonna let him, like, you know, this is not right. Why would, like, I'm not gonna allow this shit. And Cookie's trying to get him to calm down, but he's pissed. And then all of a sudden, Lucious shows up and he's like, look, the feds picked me up, but regardless of that, I'm here now, and I'm here to walk my son down the aisle. And then he was like, I was kind of questioning, you know, about asking you to do that. And, you know, Lucious tells Jamal that, look, you thought that I was ashamed of you. That's not true, son. I'm ashamed of me. And I have put too much hurt and turmoil into your life that I am not going to do it any further. So let's get married. And they join hands and they're going to walk down the aisle with him together. And I was like, I was literally damn near fighting tears watching this, because I'm like, this is exactly what needs to be shown. Black families learning to accept their children for who they are. You know, this is in the spirit of all the babies we lost. Also, you know, Nigel Shelby, you know, that we need to learn to love each other because love conquers all. Then you got the wedding going on. Shaka Khan is singing. Bella's a flower girl. Kai walks down with his parents, and we see that his parents fully support him. Jamal walks down with Lucious and Cookie, and they support him. And then they were wearing matching tuxes. I like that concept, because if I ever get married, I would want to kind of have that too. You know, me and my, you know, husband to be will be walking down in matching tuxes, looking fly as hell. Pop. So, and then after, you know, after Shaka Khan finished singing, they both Jamal and Kai was like, Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan. I was like, y'all better get that shit. Feel For You is a timeless classic, man. You know, you had, you know, Millie Mill, you know, doing the rap. And then you had Stevie Wonder playing the harmonica on that shit. And Prince wrote that song. That song is timeless and it will never die. So that's all. That was cute how they paid homage to that too. And Becky administers the wedding. And one thing that had me rolling with my girl Becky was when Becky said that, oh yes, and if anyone opposes to these two not being married, you better sit your ass down and eat some rice, because we about to make history in this bitch. I was like, yes, Becky, yes. I was so here for it. And they were like, girl, Becky, we in the church, chill out. And we, and I was living for that. I was like, Becky, you better do that. Let it be known all around the world. This is a brand new path, a brand new look, and this is something that needs to be celebrated and not looked down upon. So Kai and Jamal, you know, Kai does his vows first and lets him know how he feels. He's getting emotional. I mean, I was literally fighting tears the whole episode because I was so drawn into like how beautiful this was and how liberating this was, because when I said Empire made history, this is the first time a black gay wedding has been displayed on national television. And it shows that it's being celebrated. It's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of community. It's a thing of people expressing love to each other. Because that's exactly what we need. Whether it be, you know, man and a woman, man on man, woman on woman, you know, trans men, trans women, you know, or whatever. You know, love is love. And to kill love makes you a devil. Sit in that. Alright, so when it came down to Jamal doing his vows, Jamal pretty much just kind of was like, I can't do this. And they all like, what the hell? What? And he's like, calm down, everybody. I can't read it from a script because Becky kind of like went on him when he was like reciting his vows or whatever. And she even said that, well, it kind of sounds like you're giving me Britney Spears when I should be getting India Ari. I should be getting some soul from you. And you sound very, cookie cutter and trying to say the right things at the right moment. Jamal just spoke from the heart, and it was beautiful. And they both were crying. It was emotional. They finally kissed, and they're now husbands. And they also, and I thought this was very symbolic, they brought out jumping the broom. Now this, for those of you who understand the history of our culture, jumping the broom is how our marriages were sealed, due to the fact that because we were slaves or poor, we couldn't actually afford to get marriage licenses. So jumping the broom, over that broom, it means that you two now start your lives together. And I was so happy that they included this because we all go hand in hand. The black community, the gay community, we're all in this together. We're all in this rat race together. And I was so happy that they showed that because that was real. They showed that, yes, we as gay people also can jump the broom as well. And that we're not forgetting where we come from, nor are we forgetting the sacrifices that our ancestors made for us to have, some of the basic rights that we have. But then the fight continues. The marathon continues. Catch it. So we see at the reception, Joss Stone is singing her face off, singing Etta James's classic At Last. And that was their first dance, kind of like the Obamas. And shout out to them because they have been big supporters of the LGBTQ community. And then after the dance or whatever, we see the interviewer who interviewed them earlier. She was a guest at the wedding, and Kai says, like, you know what, me and Jamal, I've decided you can print everything because I'm not ashamed of my status and I'm not ashamed of the man I love. So he decided, y'all can print the story, say what you got to say, and we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it later. So I'm like, we're seeing that Kai is now realizing that you're gonna have to work within this frame now because this is a publicly known family, and yeah, people are gonna want to know about you, even your dirty secrets. And that's something that you have to face and be willing to deal with. So him doing this was an act of courage, that I'm not ashamed of my status or who I am, which, brings into what we were discussing last weekend at our forum at NovaSalud, that, HIV disclosure is very important. And we see that Kai experienced that in this episode. So we see that Cookie and Jamal have a moment, and she talks about Damon Cross saying that it was nothing like that. He was just a friend, and once I noticed that things were getting too far, I pulled out. But he's like, Mom, I get it. I'm not here to judge you. It's not right for me to judge you. But I know you love my father, and it's obvious. So they were good on that. Then we got Hakeem and Maya. Maya's eating some birthday cake, and Maya looked good, though. Maya looked really fucking good. And then all of a sudden, he decides to go over there to Tiana and Devon. And then Devon was like, look, I know you might feel some kind of way that I'm here with Tiana. He's like, dude, it ain't about you. The reason why I'm here, because soon as Hakeem walked up on them, he's like, we got a problem. And then Devon is like, dude, I know you feel some kind of way that I'm here with Tiana, but he's like, it ain't about you, son. I feel some kind of way because I haven't danced with my daughter all night. You want to dance with daddy? Went and got his daughter and decided to take his daughter out on the dance floor. And it made Tiana feel some kind of way. So I'm like, oh, so you still in love with Hakeem your damn self. And you just playing, with Carlito and now Devon. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This is really interesting. So obviously, yeah, Tiana still got feelings for Hakeem because she felt some kind of way that he didn't fight over her and he chose to spend his time with Bella. Like, that's my baby. let's go out here and come out here and dance with daddy. Paid her dust. Because she just thought that he was going to come over and start some shit. Because that's what she wants. You got some girls who like men fighting over them. She one of them. And Jamal and Hakeem just beat her, just completely flipped it on her. And they decided to go to the bar. I'm like, yeah, she want a damn drink because she's still in love with his ass. So then, Cookie and Lucious have a moment saying about coming through for Jamal and everything. And he says that, look, we made it. He's our boy. We're going to always support him. Then Kingsley shows up. And pretty much, he says, thank you for inviting me, Lucious, and also you, Cookie. I really appreciate it. So both of them invited Kingsley. But Cookie let it be known. She was like, look, let me make this, I'm trying to get to know you, but let me make this clear. You come for me and my boys again, that's your ass. I ain't bring you in this world, but I sure will take you out. I'm like, you better give him that motherly talk that he needs, because his mother ain't shit. We saw, cracked out Tracy doing all her crackhead shenanigans last week. But she kind of gave him that talk that he needed. And he was like, yes, ma'am. And she's like, oh, yes, and try the cake. It has gold sprinkles. I love me some Cookie, man. Cookie is off the hook. And then Lucia was like, well, I think she's starting to like you now. Because he know, like, when Cookie go there that, yeah, Cookie ain't playing. And then in this process, Lucious and Kingsley have a conversation. He says, so I heard you went out with the boys the other night. He was like, yeah, it was kind of rough at first, but it got better. And then he says that, Andre had this conversation with me saying that he wanted me to, take over as being the head brother and that I need to look out for this family. And Lucious is kind of giving that look like, nah, this don't sound like my damn son. Something ain't right. So then we see that Terry and Cookie have a moment, and we see that, Terry is kind of like shaking up or whatever, and Cookie was like, look, I know I was probably overstepping when I was talking about your future or whatever, but due to the fact that I saw hesitation, it's something that's going on that you're not saying. And if you want to, and if you're just staying with Andre out of obligation, trust me, you need to tell him how you really feel because he can take it. And she was like, no, that's not it. I'm in love with your son. I never thought I could ever love a man the way I love him. And she lets her know that she's pregnant. So she's pregnant with Andre's baby, but she tells him, you don't tell him. He can't know. She doesn't know that her and Andre had that whole situation where he talked about he's mad at God because God took his wife and his son from him, and Cookie is kind of like blown all the way, like you pregnant by my son and you don't want him to know? What the fuck is really going on here? Cookie had that real look like, I'm on to you, bitch. What's really happening? She doesn't know that Andre is still angry at God because of the death of Rhonda and his unborn child. And him having another kid may not be the news that he would want to hear at this point. But I think it's what he's going to need to get him through. Because right after that, we see that Lucious goes to meet up with Andre. And he confronts Andre. I've been looking at this. Now, you gave Jamal your cufflinks. You gave Jamal, my daddy's cufflinks. Something that I know you guarded with your life. And then now you're telling Kingsley that you're passing on the mantle to him, and you have always been the rock in our family. It's something you're not telling me. And he was hesitant at first, but then he finally tells Lucious, I'm still dying. He was like, you can't be dying. You beat the cancer. He was like, yeah, as far as the cancer, yes, but the chemo drugs destroyed my heart muscle, and I need a new heart, and because of my condition, I'm not going to be able to get one fast enough, so I got maybe a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and it's, I'm dying. And he's saying that, but I decided that I'm going to take my own life. And he was like, no, you don't go out like this. We lions. We don't do stuff like that. He's like, Dad, I'm not weak for doing this. I'm going to end my life. He's saying that, look, I am going to live. I'm going to die the same way I lived, on my own terms. I'm ready to die, Pop. And that's where it ended. I was like, oh shit, this is going to be something else. And I am like, wow, damn. So, but I'm saying him knowing he going to be a father will probably make him fight to live. But man, this is crazy. So it's like, wow, this was really done very well. This was a really good episode, and I was so here for it. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you can get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Empire. So until next time, everybody, take care.